I didn't bring the Farsi speech with me. I figured you didn't need that one tonight. So this is the presentation of the Golden Pen of Freedom for 2006, which is taking place in June of 2007. The speech is given by George Brock, who is the president of the World Editors Forum, at the opening ceremony of the 59th World Newspaper Congress and the 13th World Editors Forum. And yes, I did this into Russian. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, when Akbar Ganji was released from prison in March, some of his friends didn't recognize him. 6 years in prison in Iran, mostly in solitary confinement, 2 hunger strikes, and torture changed the man who had been known for his courage and persistence in reporting from beneath the surface of the government in Tehran. Though he is diminished physically, suffering failed to curb Ganji's defiance and his criticism of Iran's theocratic and repressive regime. Here's what he had to say just one day after his release from prison. And let me quote here. "My views have not changed at all. Jail and pressures never forced me to change my views. Today I'm more determined to say what I said 6 years ago. My imprisonment was unjust and will remain a great injustice forever." End quote. To those that know Akbar Ganji and know his history, his attitude comes as no surprise at all. During his imprisonment, he refused to recant his views, even if that meant staying in jail. In a letter smuggled out of prison, he wrote, "Let it be known that if learning my lesson is to denounce my previous opinions, Ganji will never learn his lesson." Ganji was arrested in 2000 after reporting on the murders of 5 dissidents by agents of the intelligence ministry. The ministry says that rogue agents were responsible for the killings. But in his book, Dungeon of Ghosts, Ganji implicated leading conservative figures from the ruling establishment in the murders. For standing up to hardline clerics, he became a hero to the country's reformists and became Iran's best-known dissident. Ganji's arrest followed his participation in a conference in Berlin, in which political and social reform in Iran were publicly discussed. He was convicted in 2001 of, quote, "insulting religious edicts and figures, threatening national security, and dissemination of propaganda against the Islamic system," end quote. Ganji spent most of his prison term in solitary confinement. He was tortured. He went on hunger strikes that lasted for months, prompting both UN Secretary General Kofi Annan and US President George Bush to call in vain for his early release. The picture you see here today was taken during one of his hunger strikes. When he was released from prison, after serving his full sentence in March, he weighed only 49 kilograms, or 108 pounds. At a welcome party the day after his release, a friend asked, "Where is Akbar Ganji?" not realizing that the skeletal figure standing next to him was Ganji. Ganji's friends and family worry about him, not only because of his health. They have advised him to curb his outspokenness. As his wife, Masuma Shafii, put it, "We don't want him back in prison. My daughters need their father. We have already suffered a lot." Though he is out of prison, Ganji is not yet free. Free political discussion is harder now than it was when his sentence began. The reformist movement is on the wane. Hardliners have taken over parliament, and ultra-conservative President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad is purging reformists from government. Iran's judiciary has closed down more than 100 pro-democracy publications over the past 5 years, including the papers that Ganji wrote for. It is unlikely that any newspaper would risk publishing Ganji's writings today. We honor Akbar Ganji today for his outstanding defense and promotion of press freedom, despite enormous personal risk. In their award citation, the World Association of Newspapers and the World Editors Forum say, Akbar Ganji fights for freedom of expression in Iran, but his efforts are watched around the globe. His remarkable resistance to repression and his steadfast refusal to be silenced at great personal cost is an inspiration to journalists everywhere. It is through courageous journalists who do not capitulate, even in the face of long prison terms and even death, that freedom advances. We call on the Iranian regime to respect the right of its citizen to freedom of expression and hope that one day Iran will join the community of nations that uphold international standards of press freedom. In the words of the United Nations Commission on Human Rights, detention as punishment for the peaceful expression of an opinion is one of the most reprehensible ways to enjoin silence, and as a consequence, a grave violation of human rights. Ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to call on Akbar Ganji to come forward and accept the 2006 Golden Pen of Freedom. Thank you.